how are you?
Hey, Chrisette, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Oh my God, I got to be honest. This is a dream come true,
Thank you.
and I'm not gonna. I'm trying not to fanboy out too much because I want to be professional, but at the same time, this is awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And I just want to jump into it. If you're good, I'm ready to just jump right into this interview.
Okay, let's go for it.
All right, like I said, I'm a pretty big fanboy. I know I said what I said, but I'm actually not even the biggest fanboy in my own house. My big brother gave me some words of encouragement before this thing even started, and those words were simple. Man, don't mess this up.
Oh,
He loves
well,
you. Big T Mac, he is a diehard Chrisette Michele fan. And he was just like, if you could just get her to say my name, then be, I was like, I can't make any promises. So,
please tell him I said hello and I appreciate his support.
all right, all right. So let's just jump right into it. Like in the past, you have said, like you have a quirky, ever-changing style. Like you weren't always raised on R&B, but you wasn't afraid to try new stuff. Whether that be, you quote yourself as a nerdy hip hop head, and you even experimented with trap soul with Steady. So when I hear new songs like Wait, which was very spiritual and very one foot in the gospel side and one foot just healing, what is that? What made you go in that direction?
You know, I have a song called Best of Me and another one called Your Joy from my very first project. And that is my style of writing, that classic American simple verse, chorus, simple guitars, simple harmony, three simple parts. My favorite writing style is singer-songwriter. So Wait is kind of just the classic how I was raised writing. And then the message, I think, is really just about my life experiences as they come. At the time, I had walked out of my last love relationship, and I was learning how to create home for the first time in my life. I'd been on the tour bus or on the road for over a decade. I never really had a chance to create home. And so that process of creating home was a waiting process because at first I didn't really know exactly where to set it up, how to set it up, and who was living in the home. What did I need to do for myself in this space? So the wait was just a picture of that. When we got to quarantine and everybody was at home and everybody had to reset up their lives, I
You're
said,
right.
you know what, let me release this because it may resonate.
Hey, and it did. Honestly, I listened to it quite a few times on repeat, not just when you released it, but more like to get ready for this interview, mainly because, like I said, to stop. I'm a big fanboy, but if I approach this with patience, I'm not gonna do nothing stupid. So I was just like, let's listen to it. And it was actually calming,
Hmm,
and it helped.
good.
But one of the things that I kind of want, I know we only got a little bit of time, but part of the rich hipster umbrella, pretty much, it's been 6 years since you started your own record label. You have mentored up and coming vocalists in any, different musical styles and genres. In the past, you spoke about things you had to deal with when you were young in your career. What has it been so far being the boss, and how does that differ from your beginnings?
Well, I gotta just say that I don't have or desire to have a record label. Every artist that puts music out is, in essence, a record label because the companies that you have to establish in order to release music are the same companies that a record label has to establish. So by default, anyone who releases music has a record label. But as far as in the general sense of what a record label is, that's not necessarily my desire to have. I don't desire to find artists, sign them, and put them out into the big spotlight. And so the reason why that's different from other artists or even the old me or the me that began in this industry is in the beginning, I didn't think about the spotlight. It didn't occur to me to try and be in it. It didn't occur to me to look for it when I sang a song. I was raised around microphones and lights, so that was just a part of my life. When I got into the music business, I began to understand that there's a whole business and industry around this particular beam of light. And so as I began to take ownership of what it meant to expose yourself, I got some authority in what I share and what I keep. And that with Rich Hipster University is kind of what I talk about most is what do you want to give? Because if you want to be in an industry, then you're essentially saying that I have a product that this industry could utilize and sell. And if you're not comfortable with that idea, then this may not be the space for you. And people have different levels of comfort with exposure.
And that makes sense because each person is an individual of themselves, and you kind of don't know what you're getting with. Creativity come from different places, so it's kind of your job to find where that place is and find where they want to be, and then in between is up to that individual.
Yeah, and I feel awful when someone gets into the business and they have a hard time emotionally because they didn't realize what the spotlight meant. And so I just try and give some wisdom around that with mentorship as best I can. But it's not about being hungry for the spotlight as much as it's about being hungry to serve. What do I have that somebody needs?
That's true. I'm going to shift gears just a tad bit because when you say like what somebody needs, I'm going to bring up something way back when we're in 2016. Feels like a million years ago, but um, you were in the body issue of Ebony. I don't know if you remember that,
I
but
do.
you were adamant about helping young ladies who may have struggled with body issues, who just love who they are. And that was like the genesis of Rich Hipster Bell, if I'm saying this right. It was a clothing line that caters to more curvy women. And can you tell me a little bit now what's going on with your clothing line? Do you still feel the same way? And you talked about quarantine. I mean, everybody's wearing pretty much sweats at this point, but I mean, there are people who still have those issues. And quite honestly, when you're by yourself for a while during quarantine, I'm curious, can you tell me what's going on with the clothing line and has it changed or what's your mindset on it?
Um, I want to make sure I'm answering your question.
I know I gave like three.
Yeah, so essentially what you want to know is how do I approach clothing now versus in 2016?
Exactly.
Now I understand who I am on the inside. I was able to articulate who I was in 2016, but 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 I had to go through some experiences to really take ownership of that. I knew that I knew what peace was back then, but now I'm positive of what peace is because it's anything that stays alive through the fire, right? And so the body, the feminine body, the woman's body, the physical body is not um, as important as the inside. And before, I think that I wanted to fit in the conversation about curvy bodies because it stood for something. But now I think people are beginning to realize that there's this inside of a woman that if we would be quiet long enough to hear her speak, we could really hear who she is. And no matter what she puts on her body, if we're not listening, we'll have no idea what's on the inside. The curvy denim line and the birthday collection with all of its sequins and sparkles is free. It's freedom. It's not a statement. It's not saying, see my soul. If we can't see your soul, then we're doing something wrong. We have to stop trying to convince people to listen to us. If they don't want to hear us, it's too bad. Get dressed, put you on some lipstick, and have you a blast. Because people will listen if they want to, and they won't if they don't.
And I'm glad you that kind of segues into my next question. It's like you're reading my notes. But you when you say listen, one thing I love about you that and you are open, honest, and you love interacting with fans on social media. And even when negativity was at an all-time high, you took your own wellness into concern. And then I think that little seed grew into what could be now the Inner Peace Academy. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, before when I first got started, I would do interviews in person at radio stations back in the day when there were lots of those. I mean, you kind of know how the world is shifting, not just through quarantine, but in general with media.
Right.
And so the interviewer could see your disposition. And people used to always ask me, "Are you meditating right now?" And I would say, "Well, yeah, but I'm completely here." Because I had a penchant for peace. Peace was my jam, it still is. Um, that practice that I had, however long ago, has stayed with me. And because it made it through the fire, now it shines brighter than it did before. And there are a lot more questions being asked about it. And I would be remiss not to answer it as best I can as often as possible. So I had to make a few platforms, innerpeace.academy and the sistership.org. The sistership is where the ladies gather once a week and we just get together and chat. And Inner Peace Academy is where I kind of do a lot of one-on-ones, kind of like what we're doing right now, but it's like an hour and some change. And I take on about 12 students a month, and we just talk inner peace.
That's good because I mean, we all need that. Even though that is like super essential to each person,
Mhm.
we, for whatever reason, we find a way to lie to ourselves where it's not quote unquote important to
Mhm.
us right now. And then when you need it, and you need to take some time every day to do so.
That's right. That's right.
Now, one thing about yourself, and
Mhm.
I say this selfishly because obviously we're in the middle of a quarantine, but I want to see you. I'm curious. You have won a Grammy. You have done stage plays. You had a reality show. I'm curious. I heard the new song. You working on the EGOT? Is it something I should know about? Because you got a lot of those elements there for an EGOT.
I'm working on a couple of things. Of course, one thing that we're working on is performing live. We will be performing live uh, in December at the City Winery in Atlanta, and that'll be streamable. So if you go on the link in my bio on my Instagram, you can find that. But really, what I'm doing is releasing things as I feel them to be released. I'm not putting pressure on myself about if something comes out on a Tuesday or in December or February 1st. If I have it on the inside and I complete it and then I register it and then it uploads to the site on time, then it comes out then. And I've stopped putting that pressure on myself to do what everybody's asking me to do all the time.
Okay.
It drove me crazy.
Hey, and we talked about wellness. We don't need that. I mean, like, if you do it, like we kind of touched on it a little bit with the song Wait, that was, I don't want to say random,
It
but
was
that was like,
random.
it was. It just kind of like,
And
hey,
what's so funny was, this is the funniest part. One of my closest friends texted me. She's like, "Oh my God, you didn't tell me you have a new song." And I'm like, "Oh, it's out?" She's like, "Yeah, what?" And then the next morning I put on Instagram, "Hey guys, I have a new single out on iTunes. Go check it out."
how you didn't know it was out? That's crazy.
Because technology, and this is, I mean, in the business, you'll see a label say, "We're postponing the date," or "We've pushed back the date," or whatever. But you don't know that it's because it took a few extra days for iTunes to approve the song.
I see.
So I just said, "Okay, when iTunes is finished, I'll let everybody know I have a song." I
Okay. All right.
probably won't do that with my next album if I should do an album. But
Okay.
for these feel good singles,
I
they'll
feel good. I feel so good. If it's okay with you, I mean, I want to tell people, I mean, we'll do that in post, about the song. If they haven't heard it already, play a snippet of it. If that's cool with you.
absolutely.
Also, and we're getting around that time. Unfortunately, we only got so long to do this. But
Mhm.
I'm very curious about this because you tell a lot of good nuggets of wisdom, whether it be through many outlets that you're on. Right now, it's about give or take 15 years since your first studio album.
Mhm.
How would you describe your journey from then to right now to someone who just thinking about getting into business?
Well, it would be very difficult to describe all of those years this quickly. So I'll give you a couple of milestones. I went to college because I love music. Let that sit for a second.
Mhm.
And I studied vocal jazz performance because I like chord structure. Let's let that sit for a minute. Then I recorded some songs with some friends and sent it out to all the record labels in my city. Let's let that sit for a minute. Then out of a box, an A&R found a group of songs that I'd recorded. On the cover of that was me hanging out in the piano store. That was the cover for this group of songs. So let that sit for a minute. What do you love? What can you create? Where can you send it? And who will find it? When it's found, are you prepared for what the next person in line is going to ask of you? So the next person in line is the A&R, and he asks me to come to his office. And I go to his office, and he brings me to his higher ups, L.A. Reid, and I sing a song. Now, the only way I was able to sing this song was because I practiced the piano in college. Only way I was able to sing this song was because I was in love with chord structures, and I was able to write it and then perform it on a piano. I knew what I loved. I need people to know what they love. Know what you love. Create from what you love and share what you love with who's around you. I said in my city. And then be prepared for the next link and be still with what they ask you for. The record label asked me for what they asked me for, and I signed on a dotted line. And for the amount of time that that contract lasted, I had to continue to deliver. Are you comfortable delivering? Because you want spotlight, but you don't own any spotlights. You own singing, you own playing a piano, you own writing songs, you own having created an album, you own that it landed in an A&R's box. You don't have spotlights. So the journey to the spotlight is not all about you. It's not all about what you dreamt last night. It's about nurturing what you love until someone else is ready to take it on. And when they are, your question has to be, am I ready to freaking deliver? There's a lot of people who don't know who or what they love. And there's a lot of people that get very bitter around the idea of delivery. So what does that mean? We lack self-love and we lack work ethic. And I think those are the two most important components in getting to what you're calling the spotlight. What that really is God shining a light on you to show people what he created and you perfected.
That's awesome. That's how you end it. I got no more questions. Thank you so much. You're welcome back to come to the show anytime you want. This was awesome. I thank you so much.
Welcome.
All right. Have a great one.
You
Talk
too.
to you.
Okay, till next time. Peace.
Bye.